Hello, my spooky darlings, and welcome to Streams and Screams, the online show thing in which I watch a film that is currently streaming online that I liked and I tell you about it. We're going to be discussing a film that I absolutely adore. This film is part of sort of an unofficial trilogy in the flavor of Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy, which of course contains Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. This is Jeremy Saulnier's lovingly nicknamed Cluster Funk trilogy. Funk, of course, being a censored version because I know YouTube sometimes gets mad when I swear this early on, so there you go. But we are going to be discussing Green Room specifically, which I absolutely adore. I think one of the great things about this film is that Jeremy Saulnier comes from a place of being in a punk band himself and touring across the states and knowing the kind of hijinks you get into, but then just kind of taking the worst case scenario that those hijinks could possibly pursue. In Green Room, we follow a band called the Ain't Rights that is led by Pat, played by the wonderful late great Anton Yelchin, as well as his co-stars Alia, Shawkat, Joe Cole, and Callum Turner, who play Sam, Reese, and Tiger. This is a wonderful collection of actors that are working together to really kind of create this spectacular feeling and community of a close-knit band that has been playing together and touring together across the Pacific Northwest in the United States. And so they are playing a number of shows across different venues. One of their shows gets canceled, and they are suggested that perhaps they could play another venue that is sort of promoted by radio host / promoter's cousin. They show up to the venue ready to rock and then horrifically discover, much to their dismay, that it is actually run by a neo-Nazi group or gang or whatever you want to call them. A neo-Nazi organization are running this bar. So they go on, they play their tunes, starting with a fantastic cover of Nazi Punks, Screw Off by the Dead Kennedys. Again, I can't really swear this early on, I don't know. But they are swept away within the music. The band plays, it's absolutely wonderful, and then they go back to the green room to witness something very unsavory and are then kind of thrust into a situation where they just want to leave and can't because they've seen too much. The villain of this film is played by the legendary Patrick Stewart. He plays Darcy, the leader of this group. It's so incredible to see him in this kind of role because he is so tense and severe and also just eerily calm at the same time. He brings to it the sense of gravitas that only Jean-Luc Picard and Professor Xavier could possibly have. Sir Patrick Stewart is such a treasure in this film. I absolutely adore his presence. It's wonderful seeing him in a genre film because I think he does such a great job of, again, bringing that kind of level of professionalism and intensity to this role. Macon Blair plays his kind of right-hand man. Macon Blair is absolutely fantastic in everything that he does. This role in particular is very complex, very layered, and you really see him kind of struggling internally with what's going on. One of the things that I love about this film is that Jeremy Saulnier did play in a punk band. You really get the sense that he understands this lifestyle. He understands this type of character. It doesn't feel fake, it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel glamorized at all. It just feels real, and that's, I think, very important to connecting with these characters. The band, the Ain't Rights, have such a wonderful camaraderie. They have all that kind of frustration with one another that you get from being on tour with a set group of people for an extended period of time, but they also have a deep care for one another that is evidenced by what happens when they are trying to survive their whole ordeal. Imogen Poots plays Amber, who is part of the neo-Nazi organization. Of course, she is perhaps on the outskirts of this organization a little bit, but because of circumstance, she is thrust into the fight for survival with the Ain't Rights. One thing I love about this is that they really don't have any interaction with her other than seeing her across the room while they're playing. And because of this, you just don't really know anything about her. There's no real time to have introductions. They don't particularly like each other, but they are there to survive, and so they have to rely on one another as much as they don't really want to do it. Something that I absolutely adore about Jeremy Saulnier's work is that he has a capacity for violence that is wonderfully unexpected and much more effective in its efficiency. So there are scenes that kind of happen frequently in his films. Hold the Dark has a great example of this. Blue Ruin has a great example of this. I think Murder Party, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But in Green Room as well, there is a scene of really kind of brutal violence involving a hand and some things that happen to it. But you really only see it for like 1 second of screen time, but it is so effective that you feel like you've been staring at that hand for like 5-10 seconds. The image is burned into your brain. It's still burned into my brain. And I've seen this movie many times, which is wildly impressive because again, you see it for 1 second. You just feel that violence and you feel that pain for much longer than it actually lasts. Part of the magic with Green Room is the essence of this clusterfunk trilogy, which contains Murder Party, Blue Ruin, and Green Room, in that you follow this protagonist hero character that really is in horrifically over their head. They are thrust into the midst of this terrible situation and they are so horribly ill prepared for everything that follows. It kind of really gets the sense of being in a situation where you don't really know how to respond. And yes, you may be yelling at the screen, why would you do this? You should do this instead. But were you in that situation? How else would you react? How else would you respond to this? It's chaos. Green Room is also really impressive and that it just kind of does take place in one venue. There are, of course, some scenes early on where you are traveling with the band, just kind of setting up this whole scenario. But once we get locked in, it feels like there's no escape. And the cinematography by Sean Porter, absolutely beautiful. It really highlights the lush greenery of this environment. It really kind of builds atmosphere while also making you feel like there is no escape. There's no way out. There's no way around it, even though it seems like not a horrible place. It seems, not quite welcoming per se, but actually kind of nice to be there, were it not for all the neo-Nazis. Something else I greatly appreciate about this film. Now, if you've seen my Streams and Screams review of John Wick 4, you'll know I love me some dogs in films. Love them. Happy to see them. Always great when things don't go horribly wrong for them. I feel like I should go frequently to doesthedogdie.com, but I also don't like spoiling things for myself. So I don't know, but at any rate, one thing that I really appreciate about this film is that yes, it does feature some pit bulls or bully mixes, bully breeds, whatever you want to call them, doing some really violent things. However, I do appreciate that it really kind of highlights and emphasizes the fact that these are just animals doing as they're instructed. They are following commands. They are doing what they've been trained, born, and bred to do in this circumstance. You get the dogs on their own without a command being yelled at them. They're just dogs. They're just kind of there and they're non-threatening. And it really kind of highlights the fact that it is not the breed, it is the breeder. And in this case, the owner, the trainer, the breeder of these dogs really just treats them like tools for work. And the work happens to be very violent and terrible. Seeing that separation, shall we say, of animal from animosity is really kind of responsible, I'll say, because you do hear so much about pit bulls and bully breeds being so violent and scary, and they have such a negative connotation about them. But again, it really does depend on how they're bred. It does depend on how they're raised. It depends on how they're trained. These dogs are trained for a very specific purpose. When you get them to do that purpose, they're terrifying. But when you take that purpose away, they're just there to be with their owner. It's heartwarming. It's kind of sad, but keep that in mind, I guess. Something else I love about this film is that there are some really wonderful moments of unexpected surprise, which is impressive considering that the tension is so high throughout the whole thing that you feel like nothing could possibly surprise you because you're already wound so tight that you're ready to just at any moment, and yet there's still moments that manage to surprise you and that manage to kind of throw you off guard and kind of catch you unawares, which also kind of reflects on what the scenario would be realistically, because you'd be so tense and so high strung and so wrapped up in the terror of what is going on and just trying to escape that sometimes things will happen that go against what you would expect, and that makes them that much more surprising and shocking. What else can I say about Green Room? I remember when this film first came out, I heard it was happening, and I was so excited just based on the concept and the creator and the cast that I did not care what was going to happen. I drove like an hour and a half to the nearest theater that was playing it because it did have a limited release. I just wanted to see it so dang badly, and I was just on cloud nine the whole time. time. It was such a wonderful experience. It's such a surprising and shocking and unsettling movie that it just made me like inescapably happy, which again, if you know anything about me, I tend to fall for those types of things. So if you would like to check out Green Room for yourself, which I highly recommend you do if you like a punk horror, if you like a sort of single location invasion thriller, if you like a high tension terror, this is a great film for you. It also, again, has that very realistic aspect, that very realistic element of neo-Nazis being the bad guy, and they are the bad guy. So I think if I were to pair this film with something for a double feature, I would either do The Ranger, I think, if you want something else that's a really fun kind of punky horror where they're thrown into a situation that they don't quite expect, or if you want something that is equally dramatic, also focusing on the neo-Nazi element, but in a different way, I absolutely adore Imperium. Not quite a horror film, amazing thriller starring Daniel Radcliffe and Toni Collette. Not quite the pair you'd expect now, is it? But it's an amazing film. Just look it up, watch it, strongly recommend. But Green Room, coming back to that, if you do want to watch Green Room, you can find it available streaming on Tubi for free. Haha. Or if you have Amazon Prime, you can also find it there. Or if you would like, you can watch the trailer right here, right now.
Okay, I'm with the Ain't Rights from Washington, D.C. You guys are hard to find. Why no social media presence?
Music is shared live. It's time and aggression. You gotta be there.
Sorry, guys, we gotta clear out. Follow me?
And then it's over. Holy shit.
I told you to follow. Hey, stop! Go!
You can't keep us here. You gotta let us go.
We're not keeping you. You're just staying. We're so fucking dead, guys.
What do we do? Oh, shit.
This will be over soon, gentlemen.
What are they doing?
They're coming.
We gotta go.
And we die.
The longer we wait, the surer that is.
Is that a pep talk? Just grab some shit, get ready to run.
Here we go.
I see the bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way.
They're everywhere!
You breathing? Let him bleed.
Careful now.
I can't die here.
So don't.